Hello, everyone. My name is Ashish Mangal. I am a member of Forum for Democracy. A very, very warm welcome to all those who are participating in today's webinar on a very important subject. Um, I welcome you all to the national webinar on the topic, the digital divide and its psychosocial impacts. Today, we have with us as the convener of this webinar, Dr. Shuchi Bharti. Dr. Shuchi Bharti has been a professional in government, non-government, and corporate sector with corporate sector experiences. Dr. Shuchi Bharti has taught in multiple institutions and she has been a faculty in sociology, psychology, and human rights law. So I would request Dr. Shuchi Bharti to kindly proceed with the webinar. Dr. Shuchi Bharti, please.
Thank you very much, Ashish. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. So good evening to everyone present here. I welcome you all to the national webinar on digital divide and its psychosocial impact. This webinar is being conducted by Forum for Democracy in association with Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights, that is DCPCR. To give you a brief information about the organizations, Forum for Democracy is a not-for-profit and independent non-governmental trust based out of Delhi. Its mission is to help promote the dignity and betterment of life of the citizens. Forum for Democracy also undertakes activity with an aim to help underprivileged children, women in communities, youth, and senior citizens. Some of the flagship programs undertaken by the trust are maternal and child health programs, scholarship coaching and supplementary education programs for underprivileged sections of the children of the society, awareness generation on health and nutrition, physical and mental health care programs for children, along with community health, women health, and menstrual health projects. There are skill centers, livelihood programs for women, and multiple research studies are also being conducted. Multiple webinars and household level surveys are also being conducted by the organization. Coming to DCPCR, it has been constituted under the Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act 2005, which empowers DCPCR to undertake suo motu inquiry and look into the complaints related to deprivation and violation of child rights and non-implementation of laws for protection and development of children. The Commission is mandated to intervene in matters wherever there is a failure to implement policies, decisions, guidelines, or instructions as per the perspectives of rights of a child enshrined in the Constitution of India and as well as the UN Convention on Rights of Child. So, framing child rights in the context of a pandemic would definitely require engagements of all stakeholders. And when we talk about stakeholders, we really need to think about specifically parents, teachers, and different administration and government bodies. It is against this background that a webinar series has been planned under the umbrella theme of COVID-19 and child rights by Forum for Democracy in association with DCPCR. And we bring to you the first webinar of this series. What we have observed that the global COVID crisis has brought unprecedented changes in the interactions and routines of the children, from their academic success to their social skills to mental health. The pandemic is a crisis for today's children, and the fallout may follow them for the rest of their lives, with many children having minimal access to the digital world. According to the latest report by government's National Sample Survey NSSO office, less than 1/4 of the households have access to the internet. And the number is reduced to a little more than 1/10 when it comes to the household with students. The pandemic is affecting not only children's physical health, but also mental and social well-being. Experts do fear that this will widen the already highly significant gap in educational achievement between the richer and the poor families. While progress has been made in bridging the digital divide, but COVID-19 has definitely brought into foray how precarious the access to information, communication, and technology is, and that access of unfettered and empowering ICT remain a challenge for many people. We see this problem play out in terms of who has access to the information in the digital and also in the digital educational divide, among others. Despite launching despite launching different online classes for students, strategies, and follow-up measures, around 27 crore kids have been affected by the closure of the schools. that is quoted by a recent report by UNICEF. The report also said that in India, school closures have impacted 247 million children enrolled in elementary and secondary education, and 28 million children who have attended preschools education in Anganwadi centers. And could they really manage or even have the knowledge about how the digital platform of education work? It's a major question. A massive number of children aren't privileged enough to have access to internet, while only a handful of 24% households have estimated to have got opportunity of online learning. And the report also suggests that there's a large rural, urban, and gender divide in the access of internet services. So how do children manage with this change? And how do children on the margin wait in hope to keep pace with the more fortunate counterparts? How about growing feelings of socioeconomic and psychological isolation that has deepened more? So today we shall be discussing about one of the most imperative yet unsettling subject of digital divide. And we would be focusing on all stakeholders working with children, such as teachers, school administration, social workers, government representatives, and parents, among many others, guiding them to deal with the change scenario. So we would start our session, and I would introduce our resource persons. I welcome Dr. Arvind Mishra. He is a faculty of social psychology at Zakir Hussain Center for Educational Studies, School of Social Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Prior to joining JNU, Dr. Mishra has also taught in Jamia Millia Islamia and University of Delhi. I also welcome Dr. Rajesh Sagar. Dr. Rajesh Sagar is a professor at Department of Psychiatry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. He's also the honorary professor of Department of Psychiatry, University of Melbourne, Australia, and chair Mental Health Group of Global Burden of Disease India. Currently, Dr. Sagar is also a member of Central Mental Health Authority, that is CHMA, Government of India. He also has served as secretary to the same and honorary advisor for mental health to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. A very warm welcome to both our speakers. Before we start the session, I would request the audience to raise their hands and place their respective questions in the chat box, and you will also be contacted by our technical team in our question and answer rounds. The experts may also take up the questions from chat box and answer in the question and answer round directly. That is placed towards the end after we end with both the sessions. We would be able to take only the questions, as much question as the time permits. You can also watch us live at the rate FF Democracy at Facebook. And now I would invite Dr. Arvind Mishra for the session in order to help us understand the implications of pandemic on psychosocial well-being of the society with special focus on children. The digital divide does emanate out of ingrained socioeconomic divide, and how one should look and deal with the same. So I would request Dr. Arvind Mishra to start with his session, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Suchi, for giving kind introduction. I'm also thankful to this organization, Forum for Democracy, and DCPCR for inviting me to be part of this program. I would like to congratulate these two organizations for choosing very timely topic in this time of challenge. Many people call it crisis. It is matter of choice whether you like to call it crisis or you like to call it challenge. I like to call it challenge, and I will explain why I would like to call it challenge. This digital divide, I would like to place in a broader context of social science, which we quite often use, social inequality and issue of psychosocial, its psychosocial implication, in which mental health and mental illness is included. Let me give you some background about the discipline of psychology. Also, as Professor Rajesh Sagar is there, who is expert in psychiatry, so he is competent on talking about psychiatry, but I have some sketchy understanding about how psychiatrists work, but that may be wrong also. But in psychology, one of the dominant perspective to look at mental health and mental illness was in terms of individuals' characteristics, individual mental functioning, individual personality problems and personality dynamics, where social aspect was either neglected or was given quite less importance. But some psychiatrists also I know, but some psychologists took a different kind of approach to look at mental health and mental illness, and they found that it is linked with the social structure of the society. Empirically, it is found that all societies have social inequality of different kinds of social inequality. We use two different terms in social science, social stratification and social inequality, to refer to social inequality. And these may be two different approaches to look at social inequality. And so social inequality is a social reality. It is a social fact and we cannot deny it. And our fundamental assumption is that all individual phenomenon or psychological phenomenon is deeply linked with social structure. If social inequality is part of social structure, it affects individuals' mental functioning, it affects individual mental health, it affects individual well-being also. Now, let us come to this issue of digital divide. Digital divide does not take place in a social vacuum. It's not that in society there is only digital technology or digital system and there is some kind of divide. If you try to look at this pattern of digital divide, and Dr. Suchi has given some interesting and important statistics regarding, and from those statistics, it is not difficult to infer that this digital divide is very much on the pattern of social inequality that exists in our society. And not only in our society, but in other societies also. Now, how does digital divide is linked to or affects or determine psychological health or well-being? May not be directly, but indirectly through some different route. One of them is that it has been also established in research that those who have access to and those who can afford to use ICT, information and communication technology, they have better chance to get good job in the market. And those who get better job in the market, they enjoy some kind of social security because of that. And because of their social security, their mental health becomes better. It is a general picture. There can be individual differences. There can be some exceptions also. It is possible somebody from a rich family having access to ICT, they also have some problem of mental health and mental illness. So exception is always there, but I'm talking about general trend. Now, let us come to the children. How does it affect children? And especially children, because in introduction it was said that children from the marginalized community. Incidentally, it has been focus of my research also. Most of the research I have done with marginalized community, children coming from marginalized background. Even before this crisis of COVID, all over the world, there is a strong evidence that students coming from marginalized background, they lag behind their counterpart from middle class in terms of educational achievement. Although traditionally, conventionally, we have been trained to think that academic achievement is product of one's intelligence, intellect, individual motivation, individual effort. Had it been so, why do we observe that there is some kind of social pattern? Why there is a overwhelming number of students from this background, marginalized background, they are not doing well? Should we infer that they lack intellectual ability? Should we lack that they do not have any kind of motivation? Some policy have been made, not here, but elsewhere, based on this approach, that there is some kind of deficit in their mental ability, there is some kind of deficit in their emotional and motivational capacity. So let's design some program to help them to compensate for whatever they could not achieve because of their social background. But that experiment did not succeed. Still, even in advanced country, children coming from ethnic minority group, from other marginalized community, they hugely lag behind in terms of their academic achievement. So there is an alternative approach in psychology to understand their intellectual functioning or academic achievement, also how does learning take place. And we move to a different model of mind. Basically, what is mind? So one is the dominant model of mind, which is individualistic model of mind, which thinks that individual mind is inside the brain, inside the skull. So all mental activity takes place inside the individual mind, individual brain. But alternative approach, and in some of you who are interested in academic issues also, or maybe from this discipline of education or psychology, might be knowing Russian psychologist Vygotsky. He has given an alternative understanding of mind, and he says that mind develops in society. So mind is not something which is isolated from the society and which resides inside the human brain or inside the skull. So mind develops first at the social plane. This is what he said. He says that human mental development takes place at two levels. First, at the level of society, where due to some kind of interaction, there is in every society, there is interaction between human beings. Yes, nature of interaction develops. And this interaction, whatever takes place between two individuals or group of individuals, then it gets gradually internalized. And then this development takes place at another level, and that level is called intrapersonal level. So Vygotsky clearly acknowledged the role of society, social processes in the development of human mind. But he was not very clear that is there any difference in the nature of community where child interacts. But we have now some recent scholarship in psychology and also in education, critical pedagogy, where we question, because there is another concept called cultural capital. Those who are not from social science, for them capital is only economic capital. But in social science, we talk of three kinds of capital. Economic capital, of course, is there. Another kind of capital is social capital. And social capital is your network, how many people you know, and that determines, because that also acts as resource for you. And that helps you for social mobility, for developing your capability, and for also achieving many things in your life. And third kind of capital is the cultural capital, which is symbolic in nature, which includes our mannerism, some kind of skills in Indian context, like speaking English. Speaking English is also part of, it's not only part of your academic skill, but it is also part of your cultural capital, because that also indicates what kind of class you comes from. And that determines your position in society. That also helps you to find entry into some elite groups. That also helps you to get certain kind of job, because these kind of skills are valued in our society. Market values those kind of mannerism, some kind of skill. It is part of cultural capital. It is said that it is cultural capital. So those who come from middle class, they do well in school educationally because of their cultural capital. But I have started asking this question, that why only certain kind of cultural capital helps a student to achieve high in school? Do we mean that only cultural capital is exclusive possession of only one community, or every community has some kind of cultural capital? I am of the firm belief that every community has cultural capital, because it is natural part of social life. When we start living a community life, a social life, we develop some kind of symbolic resources, and that we call cultural capital. Only in some era, because of certain kind of power dynamics, some kind of cultural resources, cultural capitals are valued, and other kinds of cultural capitals are not valued. So children, those who come from marginalized community, when they come to a school, directly or indirectly, they are given message in the school by school system that you do not know anything. And whatever you have learned from your community, your language, your mannerism, your dress style, way of standing, way of talking, way of eating, everything, it is not very desirable. And it's a very shocking message, although this message is not given very explicitly. And nowadays, there is strict law and there is a law for protection of child right, DCPR is looking after that also. So nobody can do it explicitly. But we also know that in a system where it is deeply ingrained in us, and these are like software of human being, prejudice, stereotype. So our body language and through social processes, we transmit this message to children coming from marginalized community. And a message is given that whatever you have learned in your community, better you unlearn it sooner than later. And second, then you have to acquire new skill in the school. So one of the reasons for low academic achievement of a student coming from marginalized community is not necessarily their less intellectual ability, but because of huge gap between their home culture and their school culture. School culture, even it is exclusively meant for children from marginalized community, but teachers, because of their job, they acquire the habit of middle class. So predominantly, school culture is middle class culture. In middle class culture, if teachers are not very sensitive, and sometimes even though they are not intentionally insensitive, but in their moment of unalertness, they happen to say something or they happen to do something that gives a very devastating and shocking message to the children that you are not worthy of coming to this class. There is a research in the field of education, and I will use one concept which is called self-efficacy belief. Self-efficacy belief is a concept, and that was given by American psychologist Albert Bandura. And let me explain what is this concept. It is belief about one's own ability to achieve certain kind of success at a designated level. Let me further simplify this definition. So my self-efficacy belief in mathematics. So as a student, if I think that I can achieve 70% marks in mathematics, so it indicates my self-efficacy belief in mathematics. There can be self-efficacy belief for different kind of subject also, they may be different. So there is a global self-efficacy belief and there is subject-specific self-efficacy belief. What does research say? Because we have image of school is a very holy space, school is for the welfare of the children, school is good for the society. These are the dominant perception. I think our intention is also same, that is, and for this purpose, institution of school has been started. But what is empirical reality of school? Because one thing is that how we look at school, how school should act, how school ought to be. And second is the how school is really functioning. And that is the software, which is less visible. You cannot measure it also unless you are a sensitive researcher in that. So research has been conducted to measure self-efficacy belief of children coming from marginalized community. So self-efficacy belief of children from middle class and from marginalized community were measured before they entered into school, means before class 1. And after spending 1 year in the class, then their self-efficacy belief was measured. And what was found that before entering into school, there was no major difference in the self-efficacy belief of children coming from marginalized community and children coming from middle class background. But during 1 year after coming to school, self-efficacy belief of student from marginalized community was much lower as compared to the self-efficacy belief of a student coming from middle class background. How shall we interpret this data? Something has happened. And what is the new intervention in the life of these children? New intervention is that they have come to school. They have started interacting, and when they come to school, school has its own social life, it has its own custom. So before coming to school, they were interacting in their own community, in their family. So despite all poverty, all adverse situation, at least one soft trait, that was the self-efficacy belief, was intact. They were comparable to the children from middle class background. But with the intervention of school, their self-efficacy belief went down. So we have to start thinking, all stakeholders who are concerned with the welfare of children from marginalized community background, what is wrong with the school system? And we cannot point out our finger towards single entity. Teacher bad, teacher is bad, or principal is bad, or some education officials are bad. It's not. I think it's our setup, our imagination about education, our imagination about developing the schooling system. There is some kind of problem, and we have to think about it, and we have to reimagine our education system, the aim of education, even nature of curriculum and nature of pedagogy. What do we teach? Do we really teach? Because when you teach, once I was talking to an educationist from US University. Her name is, I have written a book also. I'm forgetting her name. I may recall it. But she has used very important metaphor. What she says that there are two metaphors, window metaphor and mirror metaphor. So children, those who are from marginalized community, for them curriculum is like a window. So what do we do with window? Through window, we look at something else, which is outside there. Whereas with the help of mirror, we look ourselves. So for middle class children, those who are coming from middle class, curriculum is like a mirror. So in curriculum, they look at their own life. They look at the aspiration about their community, about themselves, about the achievement of their own community. So all positive things. But marginalized children, they are not able to see their community, at least in positive manner. If at all their communities are talked about, are mentioned in the curriculum, they are not mentioned in very, very positive manner. They are either represented in negative manner or in some kind of sympathy that they have been left behind. And there is no mention that they are not at fault for what they are suffering from. Generally, they are made to believe that they lack some kind of initiative, they lack in their linguistic ability, they lack in some kind of initiative. And so there is a need for them to step up their effort, only they can achieve. We broadly call it deficit approach to education, that there is some kind of deficiency in the children coming from marginalized community. But other perspective says that it is our way of looking at education. But if we test these children on some of the skills which they have learned in their community. For example, if they live in a hutment, in a very small hutment, where average family size is 7 or 8. So let's imagine a children, if his children is asked to spend 2 or 3 nights in such kind of situation, will she be able to survive? Will she be able to do well the way she has been doing in normal situation? I think she will not be able to do. So basically in our system, what we do, we blame the victim. This marginalization is not a natural thing. It is part of, and Karl Marx, although I'm not saying that everybody should subscribe to Karl Marx ideology, but there are other social science approaches also. And there is one kind of consensus that the social divide, the class divide in any society is not a natural thing. It is a complex interplay of political, economic, social, and cultural forces. And it serves the interest, it serves the purpose of some dominant class of society. In every class, you have dominant, in every society, you have a dominant class and you have subordinate class. In some sense, although we look at education very positively, but there has been some study in critical pedagogy where education is also accused of reproducing the social inequality which already exists. Although our dream, and I would like to recall one great educationist, John Dewey, American educationist, in the early part of 20th century, he wrote a book, Democracy and Education, and where he hoped that only through education we can strengthen democracy. So he looked at education in very, very positive manner, that how education should act, how education should facilitate a society. But basically what is happening? Education now has come under the influence of market, and now we use the concept, a theoretical lens of neoliberalism, and all parts of the world, education sector, whether it is school education or higher education, it is under the dominance of neoliberal ideology, and neoliberal ideology uses the language of market. So teachers' performance is measured the way you measure any other thing. Students' performance is measured. And what you find that now goal of education somehow has got drifted because it has become more bureaucratized. Now relationship between teacher and student, relationship between teacher and the administrator is more bureaucratic, more impersonal rather than, and in that process, what we have done, we have taken away agency from the teachers. We have some anecdotal experience also that some teacher, when salary of teacher was not very good, not used to be very high, but despite that they will devote their life to education and teaching children. And because of their dedication, education level of children used to be very good. But when we make system very bureaucratized, when we make system, I know that it's not very easy. As a teacher, I am speaking, but from administrator perspective, where we know that there is absenteeism of teachers, even when they come to school, they do not want to teach. So administrator have to do something. But what I'm simply pointing out that the measures that have been taken to improve the education system has not worked well. And its effect is more adverse on the children coming from marginalized section than the children coming from middle class background. Because we have to also understand the situation of student coming from marginalized background, that they do not get any kind of support at home. And teachers' duty, because I will not blame any individual teacher, because he or she has to teach in 30 minutes or 40 minutes to complete some lesson. And if she does not do that, she will be blamed by the administrator. Where is the time for, because we know in psychology, as a student of psychology, I can tell you that different human beings, different learners have their different way of learning, different pace of learning. But in a standardized system, we expect that all children will learn with the same pace and same kind of material. And once that lesson is completed, everybody is supposed to have learned that. Even though children have not learned, those who are coming from middle class background, they may get support at home because their parents are educated or their parents can arrange for private tuition. But that situation does not exist in the case of children coming from middle class background. Now this online teaching that is started, I think it's a new situation. It is unprecedented situation. Nobody had expected that we will have to face this kind of situation. So online teaching is the only alternative so far, but we have to reflect on that. So we are not blaming that if online teaching has started, somebody is doing some kind of conspiracy. It is not that. But we have to think that the measure we have taken, how far it is impacting children coming from marginalized background. Dr. Suchi has already given us some statistics because they do not have access to digital technology. So there are three kinds of divide: accessibility divide, then there is a generational divide at home also. Old generation are less skilled or they are afraid of also using ICT. And there are behavioral some kind of divide also. And all kinds of divide these children coming from marginalized background at disadvantageous position. So they will be lagging behind more as compared. So already in our normal situation, they were lagging behind, and low academic achievement does not remain confined at the level of education only. When they do poorly at school system, it also affects their self-esteem. They start valuing themselves less, and self-esteem is also related with their mental health. So low academic achievement will affect their mental health once. Another thing is that mental health, in the beginning also I indicated that a dominant approach to understand mental health is it is individual phenomenon. Individual is responsible for his or her mental health, but alternative approach to understand mental health is that it is a social phenomenon. It is a communal, and I'm using the word communal not in negative sense, the way, because the word communal only in South Asia is used negatively, but in English, in Western world, it is used in a positive sense. Communal means something which is shared. No? So it is a communal phenomenon. This pandemic has economically hit marginalized community, and because of their economic distress, there would be some kind of negative effect on their parents, other community member, and it will have rubbing off effect, because mental health is not remain confined, and its locus is not only inside the brain of individual, but it exists in society, and it depends upon the dynamics of community. So this pandemic has adversely affected the social dynamics of community life of marginalized section of society. But let me not end my talk at pessimistic level. Let me give some ray of hope also, and that is also from our research. There are concepts called resilience, psychological resilience. And what has been found that children or human beings who come from marginalized community, coming from poor background, they have high resilience as compared to those coming from middle class background, because they have experienced adversity quite frequently. So we talk about biological immunity. Nowadays we are talking about boosting our immunity to fight against corona threat. But there is another concept of psychological immunity. And these children coming from marginalized communities, since they have experienced adverse situation and trauma on day-to-day basis, and because of that, they have developed some kind of psychological immunity also. So they have that immunity. So even though this pandemic has hit them and hit them disproportionately, but they have got some inbuilt mechanism in terms of psychological immunity to fight against this. So they can come back, bounce back, if we give them, we make some kind of conducive situation, some kind of helping situation for them. There is another new concept in psychology which is called post-traumatic growth. In psychiatry, we used to talk about this concept, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that if there is a trauma, any kind of trauma, somebody has died in accident or due to illness or the natural calamity, earthquake or flood or armed conflict, and it leads to some kind of distress. And this is, so that is commonsensical, that is understandable, that the result of consequence of trauma would be some kind of distress, some kind of disorder. But empirical research has shown, and I have done also that research in the context of children who have become orphan in Kashmir due to armed conflict. And what we have found in our research, that even though they have lost their parent, and many of children are forced to live in orphanage, but they are doing academically well, and on some indication of mental health, they are quite well off also. So these two concepts, psychological resilience and post-traumatic growth, is giving me a hope that these traits, this phenomenon that when we experience trauma, we are forced to rethink about our worldview, because we all live with some taken for granted assumptions about reality, about the world. And without that, we cannot transact, negotiate our reality. This pandemic has given us chance to reassess, rethink about the assumptions of life. And when we do this, it leads to a radical change, a qualitative change in our psychological functioning. And that gives rise to post-traumatic growth. So because of these two phenomena, psychological resilience and post-traumatic growth phenomenon, I hope that children from marginalized background would be able to bounce back if the stakeholders who are interested in doing some welfare measures for them, and we can minimize their suffering. Thank you, and I would be happy to interact if there is some question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arvind Mishra, for such an enlightening session. Post-traumatic growth and psychological resilience is very important. ये बहुत ज़रूरी है, और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगी अपने सारे पार्टिसिपेंट से कि प्लीज़ इंटरैक्टिव हों और चैट बॉक्स में अपने मैसेज छोड़ें, और हम अभी कुछ आंसर्स, कुछ क्वेश्चंस का आंसर करेंगे. A couple of them which is more related to Dr. Arvind Mishra's presentation. So I may ask Ms. Khushnuma to ask the question. Maybe please unmute Ms. Khushnuma before we start Dr. Rajesh Sagar's presentation. हम दो लेंगे questions, उसके बाद हम आगे बढ़ेंगे. कृपया आप लोग please interactive होइए, अपने questions ready रखिए. We'll try to take up everybody's question. Ms. Khushnuma has been unmuted.
She has been asked to unmute.
Okay. You had a chat box question, Mr. Ashish Mangal. Could you please ask?
Yes, yes. Just a second. I have a question. Firstly, thank you so much. It was very, very interactive session that you have just delivered. My question is, और मैं पूछना चाह रहा था कि आजकल क्या देखता हूँ कि बहुत सारे जो टीचर्स हैं who are not very technically sound, उन पर जो है टेक्निकल गैजेट्स को यूज करने का एक बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर और बर्डन आ गया है. बहुत से जूनियर सेक्शन, प्री प्राइमरी सेक्शंस के जो टीचर्स हैं, they are not having those gadgets and they are not very friendly with it. So I see that one type of pressure is towards the teachers. The other thing is happening for the students, because you see, it is a one-way communication. Teachers can communicate what they want to send to the students, but on the other side, अगर कोई बच्चा छोटा है, वो किसी प्राइमरी सेक्शन का है, वो क्या चीज ग्रास्प कर रहा है, और दूसरा पॉइंट है कि उसको मॉनिटर कैसे किया जा रहा है, उसकी ग्रोथ को कैसे असेस किया जा रहा है. ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है, और इससे क्या प्रेशर एक स्टूडेंट के ऊपर पड़ रहा है और एक बच्चे के ऊपर पड़ रहा है, हमें इसके ऊपर डॉक्टर अरविंद मिश्रा वीड लाइक टू नो फ्रॉम यू.
धन्यवाद. बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. एज ए टीचर, जो कि मैं भी ऑनलाइन टीचिंग कर रहा हूँ, तो मुझे भी सीखना ही पड़ा, और मैं अभी भी बहुत कंफर्टेबल नहीं हूँ. तो मैं एग्री करता हूँ इस चीज़ से कि, और ये भी है कि जो हमारे जनरेशन के सब लोग जो टेक्नोलॉजी फील्ड से नहीं है, और कुछ इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंस है, कुछ लोग अपने इनिशिएटिव से जल्दी सीख लेते हैं. मैं दूसरे कैटेगरी में आता हूँ जो टेक्नोलॉजी को थोड़ा देर से सीखता हूँ, थोड़ा रेसिस्टेंस भी हमारे अंदर है. तो मुझे तो फैसिलिटी थी कि मेरे घर में जो मेरा बेटी है, जो कि ये लोग टेक्नोलॉजी से ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल है, तो ये मुझे हेल्प कर देते हैं. तो मैंने सीख लिया इस चीज़ों को. जो अब आपने बात कही कि देखिए, जो फेस टू फेस टीचिंग है उसका सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं हो सकता है ऑनलाइन टीचिंग. ये कोई नहीं कह रहा. हमें फेस टू फेस टीचिंग को रिप्लेस करके ऑनलाइन टीचिंग करनी। आई थिंक ये तो बात नहीं है। हाँ, ये है कि जो एक ये अनप्रेसिडेंटेड सिचुएशन है, जबकि हम फेस टू फेस इंटरेक्ट नहीं कर सकते, वो इम्पॉसिबल है। तो दूसरा ऑप्शन क्या था, या तो टीचिंग नहीं करें और या तो फिर ऑनलाइन स्टार्ट करें। अब ये है कि ऑनलाइन शुरू हुआ है, अभी हम लोगों के पास कलेक्टिव एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है। जैसे जब मैं भी टीचिंग करता हूँ तो मैं अपने कलीग से भी पूछता हूँ, और चूंकि मेरे स्टूडेंट एडल्ट होते हैं, मैच्योर होते हैं, तो उनके साथ थोड़ी बातचीत भी हो जाती है, और उन क्लास साइज भी बहुत बड़ा नहीं है, तो मैं उससे तो कंपेयर नहीं कर रहा हूँ। मैं इमेजिन कर सकता हूँ कि जहाँ छोटे बच्चे को आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, छोटे बच्चे बहुत शाई भी होते हैं, और जहाँ जो बहुत इंटरैक्टिव नहीं होते हैं, तो ये एक चैलेंज है। और हमें लगता है कि एज ए टीचर हम लोग को एक ये चैलेंज लेना चाहिए। तो मैं जितने टीचर है उनके साथ ये शेयर कर रहा हूँ, ये जो मौका है ये ज़्यादा चैलेंज टीचर के लिए है। और ये चैलेंज है कि कैसे ये डिजिटल डिवाइड एज में, और जब डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी हो सकता है कि किसी को एजुकेशनली एक्सक्लूड भी कर दे, क्योंकि जो टेक्नोलॉजी का नेचर है, क्या हम ह्यूमन क्रिएटिविटी, इसका मतलब कि डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी अगर हम यूज कर रहे हैं तो यहाँ पे ह्यूमन क्रिएटिविटी और ह्यूमन सेंसिटिविटी का रोल अभी भी है। हम वो अपनी सेंसिटिविटी दिखाएं, अपना इमेजिनेशन दिखाएं, अपने क्लास के स्टूडेंट को रिकॉल करें मेंटली, और देखें कि क्या जो बच्चा क्लास में शांत रहता था, जो शर्माता था, क्या उसका नाम लेके उससे हम पूछें। ये भी पॉसिबल है कि जो जब आप क्लास कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं उस समय बच्चा नहीं करे, आपके पास अगर मोबाइल फोन उस बच्चे का है, मैं जानता हूं कि यू हैव टू वॉक एक्स्ट्रा माइल, करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन जैसा मैंने कहा जब चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशन होता है तो हमें नॉर्मल से ज्यादा काम करना पड़ता है, और हम सीखेंगे भी इससे। ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई इसके लिए ट्रेनिंग मैनुअल बना हुआ है और कोई आपको बता देगा।
सर एक और सवाल है, सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट।
जी जी,
एक और सवाल है खुशनुमा जी का, उसके बाद हम डॉक्टर राजेश सागर सर से presentations के लिए रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे। खुशनुमा, can she unmute herself? Can you ask question quickly?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay. Hello.
हेलो,
बोलिए।
Yes sir. सर मेरा इंटरेक्शन हुआ था पेरेंट्स से, तो मैंने उनसे जो सवाल पूछा था ऑनलाइन क्लासेस के बारे में। तो पेरेंट्स का ये है, जो लोग इंटरनेट के बारे में ज्यादा बात नहीं करते हैं, ज्यादा उनको पता नहीं है, नॉलेज नहीं है, तो उनको नहीं पता कि बच्चे इंटरनेट पे क्लासेस ही ले रहे हैं या इंटरनेट मतलब यूज कर रहे हैं, है ना। तो ये बात जैसे हमारा मदनपुर खादा एरिया में जैसे पेरेंट्स है, वो ज्यादा उनको पता नहीं है इंटरनेट के बारे में। तो हमें मतलब एज अ सोशल वर्कर मुझे क्या पता होना चाहिए जो मैं पेरेंट्स को समझा सकूं। मतलब जो इंटरनेट का यूज है हमें पता नहीं है बच्चे क्या कर रहे हैं, पढ़ ही रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस ले रहे हैं या कुछ और यूज कर रहे हैं।
थैंक यू खुशनुमा। यस सर, मे बी प्लीज।
हाँ, आई थिंक ये जो है अभी नहीं, ये पहले भी ये कंसर्न है, क्योंकि इंटरनेट जो है एक अनरेगुलेटेड सोर्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन है, इसमें बहुत तरह के इंफॉर्मेशन है, और बच्चे नादानी में हो सकता है कि कुछ उस तरह के साइट्स को खोल दें, यूज करें जो उनके लायक नहीं है, और या जिसका नेगेटिव एक इन्फ्लुएंस होगा। और जो आप पेरेंट्स की बात कर रहे हैं जो कि इंटरनेट सेवी नहीं है, एजुकेटेड नहीं है, और मदन खादर की बात आपने कही कि उस लोकेलिटी में उस तरह के पेरेंट्स की संख्या थोड़ी ज़्यादा भी होगी, वहाँ पे सोशल वर्कर की जरूरत बहुत ही अधिक होती है। आप देखिए कि एक तरह की ये लिटरेसी, जिसको हम लोग एडल्ट लिटरेसी की बात करते हैं, सबको सीखने की जरूरत है। अब ये एक कल्चरल आर्टिफैक्ट है, इसको हम डिनाई नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है। इधर जब से लॉकडाउन हुआ तो व्हाट्सएप पे ये जोक आ रहा था कि जिस मोबाइल फोन को कन्फिस्केट किया जाता था, अब वही मोबाइल फोन के अंदर स्कूल है। तो आप जानते हैं कि ये एक डिवाइस जो है इस क्राइसिस के टाइम में बहुत तरह से हम लोगों को हेल्प कर रहा है। ये एक रियलिटी है। अब कुछ लोग शुरू में एज ए रिएक्शन रेसिस्ट करते हैं, इसको कंडेम भी करते हैं कि ठीक चीज़ नहीं है, बच्चे बिगड़ जाएंगे, इससे बात नहीं बनेगी। ये हमेशा हुआ है कि जब भी एक टेक्नोलॉजिकल इनोवेशन होता है या किसी तरह का चेंज होता है सोसाइटी में, तो देयर इज ए टेंडेंसी इन द ह्यूमन बीइंग स्पेशली अमंग ओल्ड जनरेशन टू रेसिस्ट चेंज। ठीक है, एज ए सोशल वर्कर हमें जो है वहाँ पे उनको वो समझाना है कि ये जो है ये अब एक रियलिटी है, इसको आपको मानना ही है। और हाँ, अब इसके जो हार्मफुल इफेक्ट उसको कैसे मिनिमाइज किया जाए और कैसे इस टेक्नोलॉजी को लेवरेज किया जाए, ये बात है। यहाँ पे आपका मतलब कोई एक जनरल आंसर नहीं हो सकता है, बेसिकली कि उनको काउंसिल करने का, अगर कुछ उनको आप टिप्स दे सकते हैं कि कैसे वो चेक कर सकते हैं कि उनका बच्चा जो है पढ़ रहा है, अगर टीचर के कांटेक्ट में है, अगर बच्चे ने कहा वो नोट कर लें वो टाइम और टीचर से वो पूछ लें कि मेरा बेटा उस समय क्लास कर रहा था, वास्तव में कुछ क्लास वगैरह हो रहा था। वो अलग अलग तरीका हो सकता है, लेकिन ये काफी महत्वपूर्ण सवाल है क्योंकि जब हम बच्चे को रेगुलेट नहीं कर सकते, ठीक से मॉनिटर नहीं करेंगे, तो मिसयूज की संभावना है इसमें।
बिल्कुल, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर आपके इनपुट्स के लिए। हमारे पास और भी कई सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं, बट हम अब अगला सेशन जो प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर राजेश सागर हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं उनके साथ हम बातें करेंगे। डॉक्टर सागर is a professor of psychiatry in AIIMS, and he would make us understand how to recognize जैसे psychological distress में है students या children, and वो कैसे express करते हैं। हम कोई ऐसा alarming situation psychologically आता है mental health के concern में, so how do we identify such situation and how do we differentiate between normalcy, ये normal behavior है या ये abnormal behavior है, और कई सारी बातें digital divide के perspective में और mental health के perspective में Dr. Rajesh Sagar would help us to understand. Over to you, sir, and sorry to kept you waiting. And please.
Okay, namaskar and good evening to everyone. Am I audible? मैं आप मुझे सुन सकते हैं? Okay, first of all, my thanks to FFD Forum for Democracy. I think wonderful job you are doing, and also this is the inaugural lecture webinar, I understand, and my best wishes for the work what you are doing. And let me tell you that this particular topic of digital divide and its psychosocial effect is so important. And also I may tell you, I have also given some comments in a national newspaper also with regard to this particular aspect of digital divide a few weeks ago. So that becomes a very important topic in this regard. So now please, Suchi, tell me how much time I have, because I have presentation, but again, because we have to take questions also, and we have to wind up at 6 o'clock. So because I can go without presentation also, and that what Dr. Arvind has, without using PPT. So what you will suggest?
So a little bit of interaction before we start with the question and answer would be a good idea. अगर
yeah, because
हमें view दे
yeah,
mental health
because
yeah,
so I think okay, so what I will do, I will just try to give a glimpse of a digital divide and how it is relevant for our and what is the psychosocial impact, and so okay, so I think one of the important thing what we need to know is that there is a huge gap. There is no doubt about it, and because the people, this information technology as such, those who are able to use it and those who are not able to use it. And we all know that digital revolution in our country with so much, we know that 630 million active mobile phone users are there in our country, but still the penetration internet is only 50%. In spite of such a big number, like that is what we need to be aware of. And digital inequality is there. That is what we need to be aware of. And of course, the one who can use it, and there are certain constraints with regard to social status, economic, and other resources. So I think that is what we need to be aware. That is why this divide is there. And there are certain predictor also for the disparity, that is older age, lower level of education, low income, rural residents, and ethnic minority. I think that is what we need to be aware of. And in this pandemic, I think we know that internet has become an integral part because for a number of reasons. And sometimes I used to think, had this pandemic happened, let's say 30 years ago, what would have happened? So we know that this technology has become a window to the rest of the world. I think we need to be aware of it. And but at the same time, I think also this pandemic has exposed our digital inequality also, and which again which cannot be ignored. I think that is what we need to be aware of. Then there is the importance of internet. I think we need to understand, because we all are having the social distancing, and there is the importance of internet and telecommunication in this pandemic. So it's important, and we all know the usage of social media has increased by 87%, and internet browsing to almost 72%. So such an increase has happened because of all this in this pandemic time. And of course, we also need to know that this internet access is important also for a number of reasons, like staying in touch with your loved ones, accessing essential facilities like e-medicine, e-commerce. I will talk about the telemedicine and all those things. Taking online classes, and of course, Dr. Arvind did talk about that, and working from home also. Like a lot of people are in this lockdown period for working from home. So in that context, I think one can understand that why this so much exponential increase on the internet use was there. But at the same time, I think since the topic is on digital divide, the divide is tremendous. I think there is a great rural-urban digital divide. I will, in fact, I wanted to show some figures which I have, taken from the site, and they have done this. So I will just give you the figure. The rural area is only 27%, whereas in urban area is about 105. So just imagine how for 100 people, 100 subscriber, only 27 in rural versus 100 in urban. So imagine the divide is so huge. And 9% Wi-Fi connection, if you take 9% in urban versus 3% rural. So again, in bigger cities, the divide is much more, And so also, let me tell you some of the figure which shows that 9 out of 10 internet access at least once a week in urban area, whereas in rural it's only 1 in 5, that too less than a week. So just imagine the kind of divide it is, and which is important for us to understand. Then there's a divide, this for the divide urban and rural. Now there is a divide with the age distribution also, like 54% of the internet user age group of 20 to 39 years. I think that is a major. But the important thing is young age group, 12 to 15 years is about 14%. I think that we need to be aware of, because that's an important group. And when we talk of children, I think that's an important group, and there's a good proportion. But people who are more than 40 years, they have the lower representation. Okay, now I come to the important point that children, adolescents, and what the challenges they are facing in this COVID-19 pandemic. I think since this is sponsored by DCPCR, Delhi Commission on Protection of Child Rights, we work closely with them. So I understand that how important it is. So I think children have been affected tremendously, because for number of reasons, and in general, like closure of school, which again is important. Forced isolation is there, like they can't go to the playground and all. Loss of social interaction for these children, lack of structured routine. I think again that is so important. Lack of outdoor physical activities, and malnutrition, obesity. So just imagine in general. So these are some of the important factors which has happened in the pandemic, which has affected, and the challenges which have been there for these children and adolescents. For infants, again, there is a delay in vaccination. We need to be aware of. A lot of reports are coming. There is a, again, every child infant has to go for development checkup. So there is a problem with that, the access of hospital services. For adolescent, again, there is uncertainty over transition to college, admission, and so on. So just imagine the kind of effect it has got to, children and adolescent population. I think that's a huge effect. Then important, because as a mental health professional, I think child mental health plays a very important role. I think for a number of reasons. I think I work with children, so I know that we need to be aware of that more than 50% of the adult illness actually has the beginning before the age of 14 years of life. So just imagine that if any illness you have, the beginning are there before the age of 14 years. So in a way, when we talk of prevention in psychiatry, so that's a children are the age group where actually you can do a preventive work. So that way it becomes so important. The other important thing is that the childhood phase is so crucial for one's own development with regard to social, educational, vocational. So it's a very crucial phase in one's life. And the other thing is, in by and large, because when we talk of mental health, which is often ignored, children and adolescents are ignored much more. It's a dismissed for a number of reasons. So child mental health is not talked about much. So often it's a neglected entity, and we know that the gap is huge with regard to treatment facilities and all. And we all know that children, if any illness occurs, more so mental illness in the childhood phase, it has a repercussion in the later life also. So imagine that how important it is to in this age group to take care of the mental health of a child. And of course, we all know in this age group, even before COVID, also it was 1 in 5. In fact, the study what we also have published from India, it says about 15% or 20% they do have a psychiatric illness. So we need to be aware that that's one age group which is so important, vulnerable, and if at all we want to do a preventive work, that's the age group where we can really do work. And of course, with regard to resources, they are abysmally low. Also, that is what we also would like to highlight here, and that is why the importance of this young population is so important with regard to mental health. And of course, we all know that all over the world, I just want to put across in the sense that the suicide or self-harm in young population is a serious concern, a serious public health issue, because self-harm behavior, especially in the context of young people, 15 to 19 years of age, or 15 to, so that is the age group which is so crucial and important for us to understand. Now we come, what are the symptoms of anxiety and depression in children and adolescents? Like we can divide, in very young children, middle schoolers, and adolescents. So in very young children, those who are listening, of course, the symptoms could be, or the behavior could be, there could be increased crying, increase in temper tantrums or separation anxiety, or there could be clinging to the parents, a lot of dependency to the parents, and there could be increased bedwetting also, withdrawn, sleep disturbance, and changing in appetite. So this could be there in a very young child. Then a bit older, like say middle schooler, could be, like they may ask for repeated reassurances, especially during this COVID pandemic. Irritability or aggression may be there. Increased in somatic complaints. What it means is that, a lot of complaints of headache, body ache, stomach ache, and all. There could be changes in play behavior, like more related to aggression and death emerging in the play activity. Increase in defined behavior, and of course there could be also not engaged in activity they used to enjoy earlier. There could be nightmares or sleep disturbances. There could be frequent conflict with a sibling. So this could be there in the middle schoolers, or then adolescent. Of course, a lot of symptoms may be there, like sadness, withdrawn behavior, feeling of hopelessness, fear or worries, around uncertainty. We all know this COVID period, a lot of uncertainty is there. What will happen? What will happen? Now only today it has come, the exam will not be there. School going students, exam, whether it will happen, that competitive exam, when they will happen, and so on. So there could be also irritability, frustration, conflict with the family. There could be, of course, increased screen time because of all this, in this pandemic, that also have been there. And there is also there is a sleep and appetite disturbances. Now, we need to be aware when this pandemic is over. So there could be, again, some of the challenges would be there in these children, adolescent also. We need to be aware of, and there are suggestions that there could be increase in school avoidance and school refusal. There are chances that there are more instances of school refusal maybe there when the pandemic is over. This situation gets over. So There could be, because in this period, we all know that how much increased screen time has been there for these young people. So there are more chances of having this behavioral addiction, and a lot of children may continue to have this. So I think we need to be aware that the increase may be there. There is also suggestion there may be increase of this mental health problem like OCD, like because we have been asking about hygiene, hand washing, and repeatedly. So there are chances that it may go on to the level, those who are vulnerable to the level of disorder also. There are chances, but to be seen in the future. Of course, there could be also insecurities about basic need, more so in marginalized children. I think Dr. Arvind had talked in detail about these children, and especially we need to focus on marginalized children. Many children are not being able to get food. They are more cases of child abuse also, and there are some reports which are coming, because we all know that school used to serve as a source for food also, midday meal, and we are aware of these facts, and also for the protection of child also. So we need to be aware of these facts. So maybe some of the cases may increase later on. And of course, there's a digital divide which is giving rise to social divide. We did hear about this, because and we need to be aware of these fact that some section of society will experience a greater impact. We need to be aware of this fact, and so we need to prepare ourselves. So how we can bridge the gap, I think that is important point. Then we had a lot of discussion on the education aspect, because let me tell you that education and mental health are closely linked, especially with regard to children and young population. And so we all know this digital divide, and has brought in this online education, and which has again has given a huge impact on children, more so from the vulnerable section of the society. I think, and Dr. Arvind has talked about it. And what is important, that there has been a huge emphasis on technology-driven education and virtual media and so on. Digitalization of teaching again can have a negative impact with regard to social relationship between peers, and which again can limit the learning outcome, because in different dialects, or in diverse lived experience. I think we need to be aware of these points, which again is some of the effect which may be there because of online teaching, and we need to be aware that how we need to address the diverse population, who are not prepared for all this, in a way, bombardment of digitalization. And of course, the important aspect is that even we need to understand the challenges are for the teachers also. We did hear about this, that challenge of a teacher, because no one is trained in that way, that online teaching, the way it has come in recent time, because no teacher is trained. Everyone is training themselves on their own, and the challenge would be how to develop these modules for the future for the online. I think how innovative we can be, I think that also we need to be aware of. And of course, challenges for imparting education for handicapped children also. I think this is much ignored aspect, and because no one talks about it. And so we need to be aware of that, how we are going to impart the education, or so learning to a children who are with disability, or who are these vulnerable children. For example, visually handicapped children, or children with intellectual disability, children with special need children. I think that is very important, and whatever planning or policy we are going to have, we need to include this much more emphatically, so that we need to be aware this group is not ignored in any way in this kind of online teaching. Then we know that school act as an important resource center for a number of reasons, and for nutrition, healthcare services. A lot of health activities goes on in school. So again, for last few months, that has been ignored. And we all know that in the report which has come, more than 9 crore Indian children have not received their midday meal, I think, because of school closure. And so that's a huge number, I think, and we need to be aware of this fact. And we already talked about the increased cases of child abuse and neglect, and again how we can provide, especially to the marginalized children. And then we have to see that then important thing is the digital divide and mental health care. And because since I will more specifically focus on the mental health care in this digital divide, what we need to understand that there is a digital divide. So of course, with this, there is a limited access to tele mental health services, and especially in the areas that has a very limited mental health workforce. I think we need to be aware of this fact that where there is a limited workforce, so there is a limited access to telemental health services. Though we know that though hospitals are closed, but there is a telemedicine facility. But again, also we need to understand that because of poor penetration in a marginalized group or vulnerable group, so there is a limited access to the services, health services. Then, of course, with regard to mental health services, therapy sessions, again, the kind of phone one uses, we in fact, interestingly, the fact which I was not aware of, in fact, in our country at the moment, the feature phone are more common as compared to smartphone. The figure says 550 million are the feature phone user, whereas 400 million smartphone user. So more are feature phone user. Out of that, also feature phone, more than 50% are the one who uses the phone which is less than 1,000 rupees. So just imagine that when we are talking of some of the additional features with regard to smartphone and all, it cannot be done reach out to people when we talk of these services which are sophisticated services. So of course there are limited assessment resources with regard to clinical judgment, because in context of telemedicine, I want to raise this point. And there is also a vicious cycle in the sense that because of this pandemic, there is an increase in the mental health issues, especially to the one who already had a mental illnesses. But at the same time, there is limited or no access to care. So there is a vicious cycle, and which again is complicated by the digital divide. So we need to be aware of this point as well. Now, the important thing is that how can technology be put into use to access the mental health care during the COVID-19? And a lot of talk has been there, so one is, of course, that the video conferencing or tele-education, which is happening at a great level, especially with regard to mental health issues also and self-care. So, that is happening, but the point is that how much it is reaching out to people, how much it is reaching out to vulnerable people, how much to marginalized society. That is what it is to be seen. Then we need to see that whether we can have some innovative method with regard to these consultations, like something like collaborative video consultation. We need to think about it. Like, say, for example, it is not the direct interaction of the patient and the family with the doctor, because that is which is there with the recent guideline for the telemedicine. But we know that vulnerable section of the society may not use it directly, may not have access. So what can happen is it can be collaborative. Like, say, paramedical staff can be involved in between. They can be there who can assist, who can be present, who can help a person. So there could be a suggestion of having something like a collaborative video consultation instead of a direct video consultation. Then also in the future, we hope that more smartphone applications are built up, which are made, which are more specific to the mental health needs of a population. We know that they are available, but many of them are Western, for Western population, they have been adapted. So we need to think that we need to have our own, but some centers they do have, but we need to see that they are there in different languages, which are accessible to people, which people can understand. Also, it is important that it's not only the phone. I think we need to also see the importance of the text messages and audio call. Like, we know that at AIIMS, whenever the appointment is there, the text message is sent. So because many people who are marginalized, who are a vulnerable section, they may not have a smartphone. So text messages also have the importance, and the audio calls, which we used to do conventionally. So it's simple. Those also can be used to access the healthcare or the future appointments also. Text messaging platform, say, for example, for low digital literacy population is very important. And I think that need to be taken care of, and we need to know the importance of this also. Now I will just talk about certain things, important tips for the parents. If any child, who has any psychosocial issues or mental health issues, what they can do, and as a parent, and some of the basic questions which need to be addressed with the children. Are they safe? We need to see, because safety is one of the important issue in these children. So we need to focus the discussion, especially parents. How does the pandemic affect their routine? So we need to these may be some of the questions which may be there for the child. And is their family or the people taking care of them safely? So I think these are some of the basic questions which may be there, which need to be addressed by the parents. And what is important, I want to highlight here, that parents and the caregiver need to control their own anxiety. I think that is a very important, a key thing, because anxiety is a contagious. And so it is important for the parent to build their own coping strategy. Always we say in our clinical practice, always we tell parents, because your own anxiety is reflected 10 times to your child. So just see that how you are in control. Because and also let me tell you, the child is very sensitive. A child will understand. And it's our misconception that children do not know our feelings. So so the important thing is that for a parent, that they need to control their own anxiety. Second point, which is so important, is that talk to your child. I think that is very important. And taking a time, quality time, and but at the same time not to overdo it also. And that we need to be aware of. Because why this is important, but when the child is kept in dark, that is more frustrating for a child. So some level of information need to be given for the children. I think that is very important. And there could be different innovative methods, like say for example, you can put a box with a chat. Child, instead of talking, they can write in the chat. So number of methods can be employed for. So the important thing here is to communicate with the child. I think that's a basic thing. And that could be in any way. And it has its own importance, and that we need to understand. And then always ask the child what they know about the COVID-19. So I think because why this is important, because a lot of misconceptions are there, misinformations are there for these young children, what they discuss in the peer. So what is important is to provide the correct information to them, and which is specific fact-based information. So as a parent, it's a duty to provide the correct information to these children. Then, of course, the hygiene behavior, which is important, we have been discussing. But the important thing is for children, we need to be aware. We need to tell them repeatedly. We need to be more innovative. Maybe show them the diagram, show them the picture, because children sometimes love to understand through the pictures, the pictorials, cartoons, rather than giving a straightforward, in a dialect form. So I think it is important that more innovatively those steps can be explained to the children, and also giving them the importance of this hygiene, which is important. Then providing reassurance. I think when it's needed, I think, but again, it need not be overdone. And it is important that reading stories about people who came out from the challenging situation. So say for example, it is important to discuss also success stories, those who have come out from the illness with a lot of hardship, and they are happy, so those stories also need to be need to tell the children, I think, and real life examples. So that will also give a confidence to the children, I think, which is important. And then it is important to put some routine, to have a structure of routine at home, because structuring of routine is important. And there could be some fun-based, teaching or learning, because we are not saying that to avoid teaching completely, but how it can be innovative and how it can be fun-based. That one can see, and there are different methods can be employed in that, so that it looks attractive, and how a child is able to enjoy it. And so those can be there. And at the same time, the learning can also be mixed with these fun-based experiential account. Then involve these children to simple daily activities, routine activities like watering the plants, anything which is there in your house, anything which a child like, so routine simple activities, so to keep them occupied is so important. Also, let me tell you, a lot of parents have complained, my child doesn't work, he's not used to doing the household work. But also, let me tell you that child sometimes love to do it. Only thing is that sometimes we have to ask for it. As a parent, we are not asking about it. I think that is also we need to understand that we need to ask first. Then few children, they do love to do this household activity. Have a family schedule, which is important. Have some physical activity, which again is so important. And we also need to monitor television and social media news, because all these social media news and television news can be very anxiety provoking. I think we need to be aware of this fact, because a lot of people are going through a lot of anxiety, apprehension, panic attacks, even depression. And also because of the fact that a lot of news which are coming negative news, so that is affecting them. And of course, there could also be use the internet to engage the child more productively, like games, play, hobbies, or anything, to engage a child. Then important thing for a parent, how much time I have?
I think बहुत सारे लोग आपसे सवाल पूछना चाह रहे हैं.
पूछना चाह रहे हैं. Okay. Then what I will do, I will, I will just, yeah. So that I will just, because one, I wanted to just tell that, there are methods what, parent can do, and there are different, okay, so what, there are some recommendations there, what we can do for digital divide. Anyway, we can take up the question there. I can answer to those questions. And just to tell you that, digital devices is a very important issue. I think we cannot deny, especially in the context of psychosocial and mental health issues. And parents need to manage their own anxieties and talk freely to the child. And we also need to tell that if needed, don't hesitate to seek a professional help, and develop a set routine for children is important. Have a family time, and use different innovative method to teach children, especially for special need children. And it's okay to not to be okay for some time. I think that also we need to tell these children. And we need to spread the awareness about helplines, and so especially with regard to child abuse and all. So I think what I will do, I will stop here, because I had much more to say, but maybe I will take up in some of the questions which are there. I think we can take up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really an enlightening session. हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर जोखन शर्मा. प्लीज आप सर से सवाल पूछिए. हमारे पास बहुत सारे सवाल हैं, तो हम एक्ट करेंगे.
मैं आवाज आ रहा है? हेलो,
आवाज आ रही है, बोलिए.
हाँ, बोलिए.
हाँ सर, मैं जानना चाहूँ, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि जो इंटरनेट की जो सीमित साधन है, जैसे 1.5 GB 2 GB मैक्सिमम, मिडिल क्लास फैमिली भी 1.5 GB 2 GB पर डे का प्लान पे ही यूज करती है. तो इस सीमित साधन में हम लोग अपने बच्चों को बहुत अच्छी तरह से पूरी क्लासेस नहीं करवा सकते हैं, हो भी नहीं पाता है. बीच में बहुत सारे कार्य, ऑफिस वर्क, ये, तो कहीं ना कहीं उससे बच्चे का जो दूसरे बच्चों के प्रति से पिछड़ने का जो भय और पीड़ा है, चिड़चिड़ापन है, वो उसके मानसिक स्तर को थोड़ा सा वो प्रॉब्लमेटिक करता है. तो इससे बचाव के लिए कुछ अगर बता सकते हैं सुझाव.
देखिए जोखन जी, आपने सही सवाल किया है, और ये भी बताना जरूरी है कि क्या होता है कि मान लीजिए एक वाईफाई है, लेकिन एक वक्त में बहुत सारे लोग उसको यूज करते हैं. तो ये थोड़ी सी प्रॉब्लम तो है आज के दौर में, बिकॉज सभी लोग इंटरनेट पे काम कर रहे हैं. तो ऐसा नहीं है, और बल्कि मैं तो ये कहता हूँ, अगर यंग बच्चे हैं, मेरा तो कहना ये है कि उनको ज़्यादा देर भी इंटरनेट के काम पे नहीं होना चाहिए. इसीलिए एक अभी मैंने देखा कि सरकार एक हियरिंग आई है कि 2 घंटे से ज़्यादा ऑनलाइन टीचिंग भी होनी चाहिए. क्योंकि मैं उस व्यू में हूँ कि देखिए, ज़्यादा ऑनलाइन टीचिंग से भी, खासकर बच्चों को जो बहुत ही मतलब अपने आप में बहुत एक्टिव होते हैं, हाइपर एक्टिव होते हैं, या उनको थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो तो उनको बिठा के रखना उतनी देर बड़ा मुश्किल काम है। तो उसमें भी लिमिटेशन होना चाहिए, क्योंकि देखो तो उसमें ये जरूरी है कि आप अगर आपका एक लिमिटेड वो है तो उसको ये बांट लें कि कितना कितना यूज करना है, कितनी देर यूज करना है, और आप पहले से तय कर लेंगे तो ऐसी कोई हीन भावना ऐसा नहीं आएगा। आप उसको बता दीजिए आपका इम्पोर्टेंट ये है और आपको सिर्फ इतना ही यूज करना है, बाकी आपको बाकी एक्टिविटीज करनी है, पढ़ना है, एक्टिविटी करनी है, इंटरनेट आपको सिर्फ उतना ही करना है। तो ये इम्पोर्टेंट है। और हालांकि हम बताना भी चाह रहे थे कि ऐसे वक्त में हम चाहते हैं कि सरकार भी थोड़ा सब्सिडाइज करे इसको, जो इंटरनेट यूज को, कि जिससे कि जो वल्नरेबल सेक्शन है वो ऑफ द सोसाइटी वो उसको भी ज़्यादा यूज करें। तो पता नहीं ये क्योंकि ये बात भी सही है कि ऐसे वक्त में इसकी कॉस्ट ज़्यादा की वजह से कई व्यक्ति इसको यूज नहीं कर पाते हैं। तो बट ये है कि जितना है उसको आप डिवाइड कर लीजिए और उसमें आप देखें कि क्या प्रायोरिटाइज कर लीजिए कि कितना क्या करना है। और मैं बस ये कहूँगा कि किसी भी बच्चे किसी को भी एक्सेसिव यूज नहीं करना चाहिए।
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Shaukat Nabi, can we unmute Mr. Shaukat Nabi?
Mr. Shaukat Nabi has been asked to unmute, but I think he is not doing that. Can
Okay,
we switch to some other person?
Who's next? Miss Sonali Bharadwaj?
Just a second. Let us unmute her.
मैं एक क्वेश्चन लेती हूँ जब तक। From Miss Madhu Kumari. Sir, as we know that government is more focusing on online education system, but there are many students who don't get their services at native places, like far-flung areas में जो लोग हैं, वो भी बहुत anxiety का सामना कर रहे हैं। तो इसको कैसे डील किया जाए? एंजाइटी जो हो रही है लैक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन से, जो लैक ऑफ एक्सेस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन से, हाउ डू वी डील विद दैट? सो इफ यू कुड रियली।
देखिए ये बात सही है, जैसे हमने बताया कि जो बच्चों में और इवन नॉट ओनली बच्चे बट इवन बड़ों में भी एंजाइटी काफ़ी हो रही है, घबराहट, एक रेस्टलेसनेस, बेचैनी, उसके भी कई कारण हैं। इनसिक्योरिटी है, अनसर्टेनिटी है, आगे क्या होगा, कैसे होगा, और तो कई सारी वजह है इसकी। और अब इसको कैसे हैंडल करें, देखिए उसमें सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो हमने तरीके बताए, जो टिप्स हमने पेरेंट्स के लिए बताई, एक अपना रूटीन आपको रखना पड़ेगा, एक अपनी सोच को पॉजिटिव रखना पड़ेगा कि ये मुश्किल वक्त है, ये निकल जाएगा। और ये भी मान के चलिए, जैसे हमने अंत में कहा कि इट्स ओके नॉट टू बी ओके, कहने का मतलब है या इसे वक्त में अगर आप परेशान हैं, एंजाइटी है, कोई बात नहीं, ये मुश्किल दौर है, ये भी निकल जाएगा। और लेकिन इस वक्त में अपने आप को बिजी रखना है, अपने आप को इन्वॉल्व करके रखना है, अपने आप को एंगेज करके रखना है। और सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट हमने जैसा कहा कि कनेक्टेडनेस बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, कि आप चाहे घर पे हैं, आइसोलेटेड हैं, लेकिन आप कनेक्टेड रह सकते हैं। इसीलिए इम्पोर्टेंस है इंटरनेट की, कि आप अगर इंटरनेट नहीं भी टेलीफोन से आप कनेक्टेड रह सकते हैं, तो आप कनेक्टेड रहने से भी काफ़ी हद तक आपकी एंजाइटी कम हो जाती है। और आप कैसे और उसके अलावा अपनी फिजिकल एक्टिविटी को भी आप मेंटेन करके रखिएगा। योगा आप कर सकते हैं, मेडिटेशन कर सकते हैं, तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं अपने लेवल पे कर सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर फिर भी एंजाइटी ज़्यादा है या उदासी है आपको या डिप्रेशन है, तो अब आपको लगता है कि इससे नहीं हो रहा ठीक, तो आपको प्रोफेशनल हेल्प बिल्कुल आप ले सकते हैं। जैसा मैंने कहा कि हेल्पलाइन नंबर्स अवेलेबल हैं सरकार की वेबसाइट पे। और अपने आजकल जैसे मैंने बताया कि अगर हॉस्पिटल बंद भी है तो घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है, कई जगह पे टेली कंसल्टेशन का सुविधा है। आप हेल्पलाइन पे बात करेंगे तो आपको सब उसके बारे में पता लग जाएगा। आप अपने डॉक्टर से या किसी भी प्रोफेशनल से आप कंसल्ट कर सकते हैं।
और नेक्स्ट है मिस्टर अतुल मिश्रा, क्या आप अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं? अतुल मिश्रा,
हेलो
जी बताइए।
हाँ सर, ये ऐसा देखने में आ रहा है कि जो बच्चे लोग हैं वो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस से बहुत इफेक्टेड हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि अनलॉक के पहले वो मॉर्निंग स्कूल चले जाते थे, दोपहर को 3 बजे आते थे, अब ये हो रहा है कि दिन भर घर में रहते हैं। तो ऐसे में बच्चों की हेल्प कैसे कर सकते हैं?
नहीं, बिल्कुल सही कहा। जैसा मैंने अपने लेक्चर में भी बताया आपको कि क्या होता है, क्योंकि मैंने जैसे बताया कि स्कूल और एजुकेशन का बहुत बड़ा संबंध है मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के साथ, और स्कूल काफ़ी हद तक प्रोटेक्ट करता है बच्चे को। जो घर में मान लीजिए नेगेटिविटी है, घर में वायलेंस हो रहा है, तो वो एक तरह का प्रोटेक्शन होता है स्कूल में जाने का। तो ये बात सही है कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के इंस्टेंसेस बढ़ गए हैं। हमने भी लेक्चर लिया था मिनिस्टर वुमेन चाइल्ड के लिए, उसमें भी ये चर्चा हुई थी और इस पे जिक्र आया था कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस बढ़ गया है। देखिए, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का इफेक्ट बच्चे पे बहुत गहरा होता है, और अगर वो खुद अगर इसको फेस विक्टिम ना भी हो, अगर वो विटनेस भी करता है, ये अगर हम बताना चाहेंगे, अगर बच्चा, अगर कोई भी यंग घर में कोई लड़का या लड़की है, अगर वो देखता है या देखती है कि घर में डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस हो रहा है या कुछ है, तो उसका भी उसका नेगेटिव इफेक्ट उसको पड़ता है, चाहे वो खुद विक्टिम ना हो, क्योंकि वो भी एक प्रकार का हरासमेंट है, विक्टिम है इनडायरेक्टली इफ नॉट डायरेक्टली। तो ऐसे स्थिति में मेरा मैसेज बड़ा सिंपल है कि पेरेंट्स को, क्योंकि देखिए आज के दौर में घर में पेरेंट्स हैं या जो भी व्यक्ति हैं, उस चीज़ का ध्यान दें। और अगर कोई भी बच्चा जो है परेशान है, चुप चुप हो गया है, उसके बिहेवियर में बदलाव हो गया है, खामोश हो गया है, नींद नहीं आ रही है, डर गया है, डर का भाव प्रकट कर रहा है, तो जरूर उससे बात करें। जैसे मैंने बताया पहले कि बात करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और अगर सॉल्व नहीं होती है प्रॉब्लम तो प्रोफेशनल हेल्प लें उसके लिए स्थिति में। और लेकिन ये बात सही है, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का इफेक्ट बच्चों पे बहुत पड़ रहा है, और इसका तुरंत उपचार होना चाहिए। और बच्चों से बात करने से ही, कम्युनिकेट करने से काफ़ी हद तक समस्या कम हो जाएगी। अगर फिर भी नहीं होता है तो वन शुड टेक अ प्रोफेशनल हेल्प। जैसे मैंने बताया, हेल्पलाइन है, और ये भी हम बता दें कि सरकार की तरफ से हेल्पलाइन भी है। अगर वायलेंस होता है, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस होता है, तो आप उस नंबर पे कॉल कर सकते हैं। तो वो भी मिनिस्टर वुमेन चाइल्ड की हेल्पलाइंस हैं, तो आप उसमें भी आपको सुविधा मिल सकती है उसकी हेल्प।
Thank you very much. Dr. Parikshit, is he unmuted?
Dr. Parikshit has not unmuted himself yet, so you may please ask him to do so. Dr. Parikshit.
Yeah, I have unmuted.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I wanted to know from you, how do we solve this problem of anxiety with respect to adolescents, young adults, basically, not even adolescents, young adults, people who are in the age group of 24 to 30. And these are basically master students and such like people, because they're all behaving in a very odd manner nowadays. They're, the boys are behaving oddly, the ladies are behaving oddly. So how do you suggest, what kind of remedial measures, sir?
No, that's a very important point, Mr. Parikshit, you have said. And, so because anxiety is affecting all age groups. So let me tell you, whether it's a child or adolescents, adults, or older people. So I think we need to be aware. Only thing is that in different age group, the reasons and manifestations are different. Like if you talk of adolescents, then obviously we need to know the reason behind that. Is it related to their academics? Is it related to their interpersonal relationship? Is it related to their any romantic relationship, or so we need to know. Because that's commonly that happens during this age group. So so first one has to see what the reasons are, what are the factors are there for the anxiety, and what are so one has to look into that. What one can do is the basic thing, what always there are certain general rules.
Sir, if I may just interrupt for 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
What I have been observing, most of the time it is about exams, careers, etc. Because suddenly they find they've got jobs, but finally your exams are not taking place. Those kind of problems.
Yeah. So that's true, because about the academic related, that's a main source of anxiety. So what is important is that someone in the family need to talk to them, or any friend need to talk to them, that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be anxious in this difficult period, and giving them the reassurance is important. spending time with the family, and maybe also thinking positively, okay, I will get over this period, see what my strengths are, look at how you can be occupied. As I said, make your structure of routine of activities, and keep yourself busy, how you can be engaged, and make up plan. Because as I said, that the being connected with a friend, that will give a lot of help. I'm not saying that immediately take a mental health professional help, but if things are not settling down, you can do yoga, meditation, and physical activity, your own hobbies, stress and buster which are there. Because why I'm saying all this, because sometimes as a mental health professional, we give all the menu to a person. Okay, you do this, you do reading, you do music, but actually a person who is suffering, he knows the best at what will help him. As a doctor, as a professional, as a psychologist, as a psychiatrist, we can only tell, okay, you can do all this, but you as a person, that what has helped you in the past. We did talk about resilience. The best method of coping in the period of stress. So do that in the period. But important thing is that someone need to talk to them, someone need to pat them up, someone need to give a solace to them, reassure them, and saying that okay, it's fine, you will get over this situation. And let me tell you, by doing all this, most of the people will get over. But if there are some instances where it's very severe, things are not settling down, symptoms of depression or anxiety are coming up, then one needs to take a help. Then you should not, get away from the responsibility of taking help. So that is why the responsibility is to self and the family member also. Because my message is not to a person who is affected, but also to the family member. So to them, the family member is anyone, or even the employer, even your workplace, even your neighbor. So anyone you find that this person, his behavior is, he has become a changed in a way, he has become withdrawn, he has become cranky, he has become irritable. So it's a duty that, first talk to him. If not, then we should provide a help to the person so that they can seek a help in a professional way.
Thank you, sir.
I hope it answered your question.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. हमारे साथ है Kunal. He is a very young participant. Kunal, can you unmute yourself? Yes, Kunal, please ask your question. बताइए.
मुझे स्कूल अच्छा लगता है. मैं क्या करूं, मुझे घर पे अच्छा नहीं लगता है.
हाँ, कुणाल ने बहुत सही कहा. और क्योंकि ये बात सही है कि बहुत बच्चों को स्कूल अच्छा लगता है, क्योंकि उसके कई कारण हैं. आपके दोस्त हैं वहाँ पे, आप उनसे बात करना चाहते हैं, मिलना चाहते हैं, और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि स्कूल आपको अच्छा लगता है. लेकिन देखो, ये भी हम कह चुके हैं कि इस वक्त हमें तय करना है कि जब आप स्कूल में जाते हैं तो मतलब रिस्क ऑफ इन्फेक्शन रहता है, क्योंकि आपके साथ जो है और भी बच्चे होंगे, और भी हो सकता है कि उनको भी इन्फेक्शन ना हो जाए. तो इसीलिए जो सरकार ने ये लिया है, हिदायत दी है कि इस वक्त स्कूल नहीं खुलेंगे जब तक कि ये जो कोरोना या कोविड के जो केसेस हैं ये कम नहीं हो जाते. बिकॉज बच्चों को भी सीवियर इफेक्ट हो सकता है, और इसीलिए ये आपकी सुरक्षा के लिए. बट हम जानते हैं मुश्किल वक्त है ये, कि इस वक्त स्कूल नहीं जा रहे हैं आप, लेकिन ये आपके अच्छे के लिए है, क्योंकि हम सब चाहते हैं कि आपको इन्फेक्शन ना हो. लेकिन यही है कि सब जो बातें बताई हैं कि आप घर में रहकर भी आप क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, स्कूल जो है तो वो आपको करना है. और जैसी स्थिति होती है, जैसे सुनने में आ रहा है जुलाई में अंत में या अगस्त में स्कूल खुल जाएंगे, लेकिन उसमें हमेशा रिस्क ऑफ इन्फेक्शन रहता है. तो इसीलिए, और हमें खुशी है कि आपको स्कूल अच्छा लगता है, और आपके जैसे बहुत बच्चे हैं. और अपने स्पिरिट को, अपने इस तरह के जो मोटिवेशन को बिल्कुल कायम रखिए. और उम्मीद है कि जैसे स्कूल खुलेगा फिर से चीज़ें जो है बिल्कुल नॉर्मल हो जाएंगी, और पहले की तरह आप भी स्कूल जाने लगोगे. तो बस थोड़े वक्त का इंतजार कीजिए. ये मुश्किल वक्त है, थोड़ा वक्त है, लेकिन अपने पेरेंट्स से और घर में बड़ों से, उनसे आप बातचीत करते रहिए. और ये जो खाली टाइम है इसको सही तरीके से इस्तेमाल कीजिए आप, और अपनी हॉबीज़, अपना इंटरेस्ट, पढ़ना, जो आपको अच्छा लगता है वो करिए. आपको सोचिए ऐसा वक्त वापस नहीं मिलेगा आपको, इसको पॉजिटिवली सोचिए. आप अपने फैमिली से ज़्यादा टाइम स्पेंड कर सकते हो, तो उसको इस तरह से सोचिए. आप कोई भी मुश्किल चीज़ को आपको एज ए चैलेंज लेकर उसको पॉजिटिवली सोचने से आपका काफ़ी हद तक जो है स्ट्रेस है कम हो जाएगा. ठीक है कुणाल?
ठीक है कुणाल, बताइए। ओके, तो हमारा एक चैट बॉक्स क्वेश्चन है डॉक्टर अरविंद मिश्रा के लिए, मिस वर्तिका बाजारी की तरफ से। What are the expectations of stakeholders from Child Right Protection Commission and other allied people in terms of facilitating the process of online learning and enabling parents and teachers to deal with the anxiety?
Can you repeat the question? I would like to.
इनका सवाल है कि स्टेक होल्डर जो चाइल्ड राइट्स पे काम कर रहे हैं, उनका, मैं बाइलिंगुअल रखना चाहती हूँ फॉर ऑल, मेकिंग इट मोर इंक्लूसिव, जो चाइल्ड राइट्स के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं, या जैसे कि चाइल्ड राइट्स प्रोटेक्शन कमीशन है, उनके क्या रोल्स होने चाहिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ फैसिलिटेटिंग प्रोसेस ऑफ ऑनलाइन लर्निंग एंड इनेबलिंग द द शिफ्ट इन द वेक ऑफ द पैंडेमिक? पेरेंट्स और टीचर्स से किस तरह की एक्सपेक्टेशंस हैं?
देखिए, इनका जो रोल होना चाहिए कि एक तो टीचर के साथ, कि जैसा एक क्वेश्चन भी था कि बहुत सारे टीचर जो फैमिलियर नहीं है इस टेक्नोलॉजी से, तो वो पहले तो जो स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, जो काम करने वाले हैं, वो इस तरह का फीडबैक दें टीचर्स को, क्या क्या डिफिकल्टी स्टूडेंट्स हमारे फेस कर रहे हैं। क्योंकि एज ए टीचर अभी मुश्किल ये है, ये वन वे कम्युनिकेशन हो रहा है। जैसे एज ए टीचर अगर मैं कुछ बोल रहा हूँ, मुझे पता नहीं है कि जो सुनने वाले हैं उनको समझ में आ रहा है, उनकी क्या परेशानी है, क्या ये दिक्कत है। कुछ कोशिश करते होंगे टीचर, लेकिन सारी जानकारी, सारा फीडबैक नहीं मिल पाता है। अगर ये लोग स्टेक होल्डर अगर टीचर को हेल्प कर पाए इन सब फीडबैक के थ्रू, तो टीचर के अंदर एक स्किल इनहेंसमेंट हो सकता है। सॉफ्ट स्किल है वो, अपना सॉफ्ट स्किल भी और हार्ड स्किल भी जो टेक्नोलॉजी का है, दोनों में आप मदद करेंगे। दूसरी बात है जो पेरेंट के साथ काम करने का है, कि जैसा आप देखा कि पेरेंट का अपना अलग अलग एटीट्यूड है। सम पेरेंट्स आर सस्पिशियस कि उनके बच्चे जो है सचमुच में क्लास कर रहे हैं कि कुछ और कर रहे हैं, गेम खेल रहे हैं या कुछ उटपटांग चीज देख रहे हैं। तो अभी जो कि अनप्रेसिडेंटेड सिचुएशन है, तो पेरेंट्स को भी काउंसलिंग की जरूरत है, क्योंकि सबके लिए अजूबा चीज है, सबके लिए नई चीज है, एक चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशन है, अनसर्टेनिटी है। ये ना माने कि पेरेंट्स को सब चीज पता है, उनको भी मदद की जरूरत है। टीचर्स को मदद की जरूरत है, पेरेंट्स की मदद की। जैसा डॉक्टर राजेश सागर ने कहा, जो अफेक्टेड है चिल्ड्रन, लेकिन वो अफेक्टेड है इन लोगों से भी, जो फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं, कम्युनिटी मेंबर्स हैं, और टीचर्स के भी बिहेवियर्स अफेक्ट हो सकते हैं। तो अगर उनके साथ हम काम करें, एंड इफ दे कैन डेवलप सम काइंड ऑफ सेंसिटिविटी और दे कैन डेवलप सम काइंड ऑफ अवेयरनेस अबाउट द प्रॉब्लम चिल्ड्रन माइट गो थ्रू, उससे जो है काफी बच्चों को मदद मिल सकती है। तो मुझे लगता है कि जो और स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, स्पेशली सोशल वर्कर है, वो इन सब फ्रंट पे काम कर सकते हैं। पेरेंट्स की काउंसलिंग करें, उनका एजुकेशन बढ़ाएं, टीचर्स को हेल्प करें, और बच्चे और टीचर और पेरेंट्स के बीच में एक तरह से लिंक का काम कर सकते हैं। और कुछ है कोई क्वेश्चन अगर छूट गया?
मैं सिर्फ थोड़ा सा ऐड करना चाहूंगा। ये बहुत अच्छा सवाल है, क्योंकि समय के अभाव के कारण मैं बता नहीं पाया। देखिए, दो चीजें जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, जो अगर सजेशन अगर सरकार ले, एक तो ये है, क्योंकि ये मान के चलिए डिजिटल डिवाइड बहुत ज्यादा है और डिजिटलाइजेशन की बहुत जरूरत है आने वाले वक्त में, जब तक ये पैंडेमिक का प्रॉब्लम ठीक नहीं होती। तो दो चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट है जो की जा सकती है। एक तो है जिसे हम कहते हैं डिजिटल लिटरेसी, है ना। तो एक जो चीज जो की जा सकती है कि, और क्योंकि हम ये भी जानते हैं कि बहुत जगह पे डिजिटल लिटरेसी नहीं है, बिकॉज लोगों को मालूम नहीं है, क्योंकि बहुत सारा जो मेडिसिन, टेली मेडिसिन भी जो कम्युनिकेशन है वो भी डिजिटल के थ्रू हो रहा है। तो हम ये कहते हैं पीयर लेड डिजिटल लिटरेसी होनी चाहिए। कहने का मतलब है, आप एक ट्रेनर आप बनाइए, आप एक गांव में या एक कस्बे में, तो वो बाकियों को ट्रेन करे। तो एक तरह का पीयर लेड ट्रेनिंग होनी चाहिए, और जो कि एक जिससे कि जो डिजिटल लिटरेसी है उसका जो गैप है वो कम कर सके। दूसरी चीज, एक वॉलंटियर होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें मालूम है गांव में, रूरल एरिया में डिजिटल उसका वो नहीं है इतना तो वो एक वॉलंटियर हो, जो एक वॉलंटियर 10 गांवों को वो करे, क्योंकि हम जानते हैं बुजुर्ग व्यक्ति भी हैं, वो इतना ज्यादा फैमिलियर नहीं होते, ऐप कैसे यूज करना है, मोबाइल फोन कैसे यूज करना है, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीजें ई हेल्थ है, ई कम्युनिकेशन है। तो हम ये कहते हैं कि वॉलंटियर्स भी हों, उनको ट्रेन करें गांव में, तो उस तभी इसका लाभ है वहां तक पहुंच पाएगा पूरी तरह से, क्योंकि हम और ये जरूरी है। तो और खासकर आने वाले वक्त में बहुत सारी चीजें डिजिटल के थ्रू होंगी, तो हमें इसका वो ये करना चाहिए, करना होगा, जिससे कि हम औरों तक पहुंच सके।
सर, इसी से रिलेटेड एक सवाल है मिस रवीना रिचर्ड्स का, जो कह रही है क्या ट्रेडिशनल मीन्स ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन जो होते हैं, रेडियो, टेलीविजन एक्सेट्रा, can those be effectively used in imparting education for students in the marginalized section of the society?
Yes, no, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट बात कही है रवीना जी ने। मैं आपको बता दूं कि कुछ हफ्ते पहले मैंने ये किसी रिपोर्टर को न्यूज़पेपर में कहा भी है कि मार्जिनलाइज सेक्शन जहाँ पे इंटरनेट का पेनिट्रेशन नहीं है, तो क्या हम टेलीविजन का चैनल एक ले सकते हैं, या हम रेडियो का एक चैनल या हम वो ले सकते हैं, क्योंकि रेडियो और टेलीविजन काफ़ी रीच हो गई है। तो हमें वो मेथड भी यूज़ करना चाहिए, एटलीस्ट को एक्सप्लोर करना चाहिए, खासकर मार्जिनलाइज और वल्नरेबल सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी के लिए, जहाँ पे इंटरनेट की रीच नहीं है। क्योंकि ये तो देखो मानना पड़ेगा कि रीच, क्योंकि चाहे हम कितना भी कहें कि हमारा इंटरनेट, हम नंबर 2 हैं वर्ल्ड में इतना, लेकिन ये भी मानना जरूरी है कुछ जगह पे नहीं है इसकी पहुंच। तो अगर हमें रियली पहुंचाना है ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन का फायदा, तो हमें वहां तक भी पहुंचना होगा, और अगर वहां पे नहीं है तो हमें ऑल्टरनेटिव मेथड देखने होंगे कि हम क्या क्या कर सकते हैं। तो उसमें टेलीविजन डेफिनेटली है, क्योंकि हमें मालूम है, जैसे उदाहरण के तौर पे बता देता हूँ, इग्नू जो है उसका एक चैनल होता है, जितने भी कुछ उनका एक चैनल होता है, तो क्यों ना हम एक डेडिकेटेड चैनल हो जहाँ पे इस तरह के एजुकेशन के लिए हो, सीबीएसई एक चैनल बनाए, या दिस आर जस्ट अ थॉट, ये सिर्फ सोच है कि जैसा इग्नू का हो सकता है, तो ऐसा सीबीएसई एजुकेशन का क्यों नहीं हो सकता है। तो इवन रेडियो पे इतने सारे एफएम, तो एक डेडिकेटेड लेक्चर के लिए या बच्चों के लिए या किसी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए क्यों नहीं हो सकता, अलग अलग क्लास के लिए। तो आई थिंक ये सोचना होगा आने वाले टाइम में, क्योंकि देखिए अगर इंटरनेट पे 2 चीजें आपको मिल रही है, ऑडियो और विजुअल मिल रहा है ना, तो अगर आपको रेडियो पे है तो हो सकता है विजुअल ना मिले, बट ऑडियो में आप लेक्चर तो ले सकते हैं। तो हमें, क्योंकि उसकी रीच बहुत है, तो हमें ये सब मेथड अपनाने होंगे अगर हमें रियली पहुंचना है तो, क्योंकि वक्त के अभाव के कारण ये सब बातें बता नहीं पाए, लेकिन ये सब हम क्योंकि ये सब सुझाव हैं जो इस डिजिटल डिवाइड को कम कर सकते हैं और आने वाले वक्त के लिए बच्चों को एजुकेट करने के लिए, उनके एजुकेशन में के लिए भी इम्पोर्टेंट है।
Thank you very much, sir. Next हमारी है पारुल सिंह. I think it would be the second last question from पारुल सिंह. आप जल्दी से live question पूछ लें, please.
Parul has been asked to unmute.
Yes, Parul.
Hello.
जी Parul, we can hear you. Please ask your question.
Namaste ma'am and all of you members.
नमस्कार।
सर, मेरा ये कहना था कि बच्चे तो सब मान ही जाते हैं, घर में हमारे जो बच्चे हमारे घर में वो स्कूल का टाइम टेबल रूटीन फॉलो तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उनके मेंटल हेल्थ पे बहुत ज्यादा इफेक्ट भी कभी कभी पड़ता है। वो आपस में ही चिड़चिड़ापन होने लगते हैं और फिर हम लोग भी उससे नहीं कर पाते सर्वाइव। तो उसके लिए क्या करना है?
देखिए ये पारुल जी आप ही की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, ये सभी जगह पे ऐसा हो रहा है। और एक तो बात ये भी इम्पोर्टेंट है कि जितना हम क्लोजली आजकल बच्चों को ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं उतना शायद पहले नहीं करते थे, क्योंकि बच्चे स्कूल चले जाते थे, आपका टाइम आई टू आई का बढ़ गया है। तो आप जब पूरा ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं तो आप छोटी छोटी चीज़ों पे भी ध्यान देते होंगे जो शायद पहले ना देते हो, क्योंकि पहले हो सकता है आप पे भी उतना टाइम ना हो, क्योंकि आप भी अब आप ऑफिस या अब नहीं जा रहे हैं। तो कहने का मतलब है कि बच्चों में थोड़ा चिड़चिड़ा हो गए, कोई बात नहीं। आई थिंक इसलिए मैंने जो बताया आपको कि जो टिप्स फॉर पेरेंट्स में, उनसे बात करना, उनसे कम्युनिकेट करना, उनके साथ क्वालिटी टाइम देना, उनके साथ एक अच्छा टाइम स्पेंड करें, क्योंकि बच्चों को ये लगना चाहिए कि ये भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट टाइम है जो मेरे जीवन में नहीं आएगा इतना, कैसे मैं उसको पॉजिटिवली देखूं। और ऐसे में कई मैंने एग्जाम्पल दिए बच्चों की जहाँ पे उन्होंने नई स्किल सीखी हैं, नए ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम सीखे हैं और ऑनलाइन सेलिब्रेट करते हैं अपना बर्थडे। तो कहने का मतलब है कि ऐसे वक्त में एक जो हम ये कहते हैं कि चैलेंज को भी अपॉर्चुनिटी बनाना, ये एक चैलेंजिंग टाइम है, इसको हम कैसे इसको उभार कर लेकर आए कि हमें ये अपने आप में अपॉर्चुनिटी लगे, तो यही हमें उनको बताना है। और जो उनकी चिड़चिड़ाहट है वो इसलिए भी है क्योंकि उनके पास आउटर वर्ल्ड कट हो गया है, उनके दोस्त से वो मिल नहीं सकते फिजिकली, और अपने थॉट्स बहुत आ रहे हैं। तो हो सकता है एक स्वाभाविक है, लेकिन वो यही बताना है एज अ पेरेंट कि देखिए ये मुश्किल वक्त है, ये निकल जाएगा, और हमें एज अ पेरेंट भी अच्छा रोल मॉडल देना है। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात, अगर आप खुद चिड़चिड़े रहेंगे तो बच्चा भी वही सीखेगा। ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, हम अक्सर भूल जाते हैं कि एज ए पेरेंट अगर आप चिड़चिड़े हैं क्योंकि आप भी उसी स्थिति से गुजर रहे हैं, तो अपने आप को एक बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल उनसे देना है और ये बताना है कि कोई बात नहीं, ये मुश्किल टाइम है, निकल जाएगा।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। अब हमारे पास वी हैव ऑलरेडी क्रॉस द टाइम लिमिट, बट एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन है जिसपे मैं एंड करना चाहूंगी और अपने दोनों एक्सपर्ट्स की राय लेना चाहूंगी, जो जेंडर रिलेटेड है, जो गर्ल चाइल्ड से रिलेटेड है। हमारे एक पार्टिसिपेंट जानना चाहते हैं कि जब हम जेंडर पर्सपेक्टिव, जेंडर स्पेसिफिक पैटर्न की बात करते हैं, तो उसमें हमारा क्या अप्रोच रहना चाहिए एज अ स्टेक होल्डर टू हेल्प टू pay attention on the girl child. So though we will take up this topic in our next webinar पूरे detail में, but just 2 lines of your expert comments on this, both the resource persons one by one, if you can take up before we end the session, it would be really great. So Dr. Rajesh Sagar, we can start.
Okay.
With Dr. Rajesh.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a very important point. और हमने क्योंकि ये अपने आप में एक अलग से टॉपिक है और ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है, जेंडर सेंसिटिविटी, जेंडर रिलेटेड, क्योंकि खासकर हम मानसिक समस्याओं की बात करें, मार्जिनलाइज ग्रुप की बात, तो ये काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट है इस चीज़ को डिस्कस करना। और डिजिटल डिवाइड भी इसमें एक्सेंचुएट बढ़ जाता है अगर हम जेंडर रिलेटेड इश्यूज की बात करें। तो हमें we need to be sensitive, and the message to all stakeholder is whenever we are making any guideline or any policy or anything, we need to take into account that how we can include them in our, so that they are not excluded, whatever the activity we are planning. तो हमें यही देखना है कि वो किस तरह से इंक्लूड रहें। और क्योंकि अक्सर ये देखा गया है कि हम जानते हैं कि बिकॉज जो ये सोच है कि अगर लड़का है तो ठीक है, मतलब वो पढ़ाई करेगा, नौकरी करेगा, बट एक लड़की के बारे में जो ख्याल होते हैं, तो हमें देखना है कि जहाँ तक इवन हम ये कहते हैं कि ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की भी बात है, तो ये देखना बहुत जरूरी है कितने बॉयज कर रहे हैं, कितने गर्ल्स कर रहे हैं। तो आई थिंक उनको इंक्लूड करना बहुत जरूरी है और एक तरह का अफर्मेटिव और एक तरह का वो होना चाहिए, एजुकेट, इंसेंटिवाइज होना चाहिए कि हमें गर्ल्स को भी उतना ही ध्यान देना है, खासकर एजुकेशन के लिए, मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के लिए। आई थिंक वी नीड टू पे मोर अटेंशन. Maybe we can take up another, it requires a full lecture.
Yes, we will take that up. Dr. Arvind Mishra, if you could please.
जैसा ये है कि हम मानते हैं कि सारे स्टूडेंट्स एक ही तरह के होते हैं, उनकी लर्निंग एक ही तरह से होती है। मैं ये कहूँगा कि जब हम लर्न भी करते हैं तो और भी चीज़ हमारी ज़िंदगी की जो है उसको अफेक्ट करती है, हमारी पर्सनैलिटी। और ये फैक्ट है कि एक ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी में सोशलाइजेशन जो होता है गर्ल चाइल्ड का और मेल चाइल्ड का, वो अलग अलग ढंग से होता है और हमारा एटीट्यूड भी अलग अलग होता है। जस्ट एक उदाहरण छोड़ लें कि एक बहुत ही सिंपल फैमिली है जिसके पास एक ही डिवाइस है, या तो लैपटॉप है या एक मोबाइल है, और वहाँ पे दोनों के क्लास होने हैं, संजोग से दोनों के क्लास एक ही टाइम पे है, तो क्या डोमिनेंट अप्रोच होगा फैमिली का? ज़्यादा आप मान सकते हैं कि ये मेल चाइल्ड को प्रेफरेंस मिलेगा। एक ये जानना चाहिए, हो सकता है कि सब जगह ये बात नहीं हो, लेकिन मैंने जस्ट एक इशारा किया कि ऐसा हो सकता है। दूसरा ये भी है कि अभी अब घर पे सबको रहना है और लड़के को भी रहना है, लड़की को भी रहना है, तो गर्ल चाइल्ड को घर के काम में ज़्यादा हम लगा देते हैं, अरे ये तो लड़के हैं, लड़की को तो ये सीखना ही चाहिए। तो एक ये भी स्टेक होल्डर्स ये मैसेज देना चाहें और ये अवेयरनेस फैलाना चाहें, अगर घर में है ये बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि दोनों लड़के और लड़कियों को कि कोई ऐसा काम जो है उसका जेंडर डिवीजन नहीं है, ये कहीं से बन के नहीं आया है। और मेल चाइल्ड का रीसोशलाइजेशन या फ्रेश सोशलाइजेशन का भी एक ये अपॉर्चुनिटी यूज करना चाहिए। और ये अगर कर पाए, और जैसा कि डॉक्टर राजेश सागर ने कहा और आपका प्लानिंग भी है कि ये एक अलग सेशन ही इस पे आप होगा, ये बस छोटी सी टिप्पणी के साथ में समाप्त कर रहा हूँ।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर फॉर योर एक्सपर्ट इंफॉर्मेशन एंड डेफिनेटली हम इस पूरे टॉपिक को लेके एक अलग से वेबिनार करेंगे जो हमने प्लान भी किया है। और एज we reach the conclusion of this program, I would like to extend very sincere thanks to each one of you. बहुत ही ज़्यादा enlightening था ये program और बहुत participation भी रहा, बहुत interaction हुआ। कुछ questions हैं जो हम नहीं ले पाए, तो आप हमें please लिखिए और we will try to get in touch with our experts and try to answer those questions. I sincerely thank both the resource person for your time, for your valuable time and informative knowledge sharing session. And as we've discussed that our collective work is far from done and there's a dire need to innovate education delivery models quickly to face, this crisis situation. We will all need to collaborate and make, the effective ICT systems. And similarly, this ICT system also intertwines with the psychosocial, mental, and technology aspects. I extend my sincere gratitude to the members of Forum for Democracy and members of Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights for coming together and conceiving and organizing this webinar series. Last and most importantly, the participants from all age group, from all walks of life and different parts of the country for your involvement and encouragement and making this session very interactive. और अब हम अपना webinar end करते हुए अपने contact details both the organizations के screen पे लगाएंगे. For further query, feedback and suggestions, please get in touch with us and thank you very much. Once again, technical team may kindly display the contact details on the screen, please. Thank you so much.